This video tutorial is going to introduce you to the topic of checkmate. Checkmate is a really important and critical concept for students to understand about chess. Once they've learned all the basic rules of how the pieces move, it's really important that they get a good understanding of what checkmate is, what it means, and how to do it. Checkmate is when the king is attacked or in check, and there's nothing they can do to get out of this check. And that's called a checkmate, and that's how you win the game. You don't win the game by capturing the king. You win the game by attacking it in such a way that there's no way for the opponent to escape. In this example, it's asking you to checkmate in one move, and you're white, and so you take the rook and put it on the back rank. This is a check because you attack the king. Now, there are three ways to get out of checkmate. The first one is to run away with the king. The second is to block, and the third is to capture. In this case, black only has a king, and so to block the check or to take the rook are not possible. The only option black has is to try to run away with the king. But in this case, the king can't run to b8 because of the rook, and it can't try to escape to the 7th rank because of the white king. So that means black's king is under attack, it's in check, and he has no solution to this check, therefore it's a checkmate, and white wins the game. In this example, it's white to move, and you can move the bishop here. This gives a check. The king can't go to b8 because the white king is defending, and the dark square bishop isn't able to block or capture the bishop, so it's also a checkmate. Once again, white can do a checkmate in one move by pushing the pawn. This attacks the king. The king can't take the pawn or move to b8 because of the white king, and is blocked to escape by his own pawn. In this case, there are more pieces, and it may be more difficult for students to find the problem, but they can narrow it down by looking at which pieces are not able to checkmate in one move. For example, these rooks are not, and the bishop are not even able to move, so that students shouldn't worry about these pieces on the back rank. They're not able to move, and they're too far away from the king to do any attacks in one move. In this case, you can look at the queen and the bishop both pointing at f7. By moving the queen to f7, you get a check, which is an attack on the king. The king can't escape to any of these squares because the queen controls all of them. The king can't take the queen because it's protected by the bishop. No one else can capture the queen, and no one can block because there are no squares in between. In this example, white can checkmate in one move by moving the queen to the back rank. Once again, this is an attack on the king. Black doesn't have any pieces to block or capture, and the king can't run to any of these squares. In this case, white can do a checkmate by moving the queen to h7. This is an attack on the king. The king can't take the queen because the queen is protected by the bishop, and it can't run to the corner because that square is also protected by the queen. These are some of the basics about checkmate. There's a lot of different questions that can be asked, such as checkmate in one move, 2 moves, 3 moves, with an infinite number of positions, but the same principles about checkmate are still really important for students to understand. They need to understand what it means, that it's a check on the king that cannot be escaped, and they need to understand that that's how you win the game, not by capturing the king, but by performing a checkmate.